Now, this may be kind of controversial. I know people love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, but I would say this is probably James Gunn's best work. I gotta say, King Shark and Weasel were total standouts. Hey, what is up, everybody? Mike from Comic Book Fans here, and welcome back to the channel. I just got back from seeing The Suicide Squad in theaters. It's kind of late at night, but I wanted to do this review while I was fresh, and yes, this is going to be a spoiler-free review. This is also going to be a 6-minute movie review, because I know y'all don't have time to listen to me ramble on for 20 minutes. So, without further ado, let's start that timer. All right, so I'm just going to start off by saying this may be kind of obvious, but don't bring your kids to this movie. I will also say that I have seen a lot of people, a lot of like Snyder fans, who seem to kind of want this movie to fail. And like, I'm not talking about all Snyder fans. I'm a Snyder fan myself. Look at the freaking poster, But a lot of people get all upset, like, ooh, the Snyder fandom doesn't call out their toxic fans. Calling the toxic fans out. Some people really wanted this movie to fail because it wasn't directly tied in with Zack Snyder's vision, which it still kind of is. It's not as much of a tie-in to the Snyderverse as David Ayer's Suicide Squad. So a lot of people wanted this to fail. People were actually like, when the second trailer came out, people were like ranting on Twitter that Bloodsport put Superman in the hospital with a kryptonite bullet and going totally off on this and saying, like, ooh, great writing, James Gunn. It's like, it's literally in the comics, guys. Chill. I mean, it really doesn't make any sense because David Ayer supports the new movie. James Gunn supports Snyder fans and Zack Snyder's work. He's said as much himself. And the cast of the Suicide Squad have shown support for David Ayer's cut of the film to be released. So, but anyway, I digress. Let's get into the actual movie. So let's start with the good. So there's a lot of good in this movie. Overall, it's just a fun freaking movie. It's funny, like James Gunn is usually funny, but you can really tell that he got to do whatever the hell he wanted with this one. Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm sure he had some parameters he had to follow with, and it's not like he totally just did whatever the hell he wanted and didn't care what came before or anything, because this movie is pretty much a sequel to the last one. Like, it's very different. It feels more like Birds of Prey than the Suicide Squad. It basically just assumes that you saw the first Suicide Squad movie, and it doesn't try to ignore that movie. It even references the events, sort of like, it's basically like a sort of sequel. It's sort of a sequel in the way that Avengers Infinity War and Endgame were to like the first two Avengers movies. Like, same universe, acknowledges what happened in the past, but it's not like a direct follow-up because the directors are different. It feels a little different. All that out of the way. The humor was great, a lot better than the Guardians movies, I think. Like, a lot of the Marvel movies, a lot of other comic book movies rely heavily on like these, quippy one-liners and these weird kind of awkward conversations that don't always land, at least in my opinion. This movie really relied a lot on just funny characters, characters that their personality was just funny, or the way they looked or talked or acted was really funny, and even the way they interacted with each other was funny. It was just funny like that, and it didn't take itself too seriously, which is good because one of the main villains is pretty goofy. It's a character that I never thought I'd see in live action, but here we go, and it worked, and you almost even felt bad for one of the main villains, which was kind of interesting considering who it was. But yeah, I think overall just really good. The acting was all very good. Even like the side characters who had smaller roles, like Steve Agee and Jennifer Holland, they all did a really good job too. And all the returning cast, all the new actors, like Idris Elba, even John Cena is really good. Like, James Gunn really brought out the best in a lot of these actors. Like, this is the best I've ever seen John Cena, and he has much more of a personality in this movie. James also brought out the best in Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, kind of the same way that the Russo brothers kind of brought out the best in Chris Hemsworth's Thor in Infinity War. And you really see kind of like her craziness in a way that we never really saw before, but it isn't as jarring as it was like in Birds of Prey. And just all the characters are good. He really makes you care about these nobody characters. Like, it's honestly more of a feat, I think, than Guardians of the Galaxy was, because it's true, he is a master at taking these characters that are really obscure and nobody really knows about, at least the general public doesn't, and really makes them good, interesting characters that people care about. And he really did this in this movie, but I think with characters that are kind of more obscure than even the Guardians of the Galaxy ones were. Even to comic fans, all these characters are very obscure, but he made them his own and made them really good characters, even though Nobody who knows who the heck they are, and even took these people that had these stupid powers and makes them either just funny, so you're like, it doesn't take it too seriously, so it's fun, or he actually kind of makes them look cool, or at least makes them useful. I gotta say, like, all the action was really good. It doesn't do the whole like chopped together or shaky cam that a lot of action movies do. You actually get to see what's going on, and the special effects were surprisingly great. Cinematography, the lighting, the color grading, all that stuff looks great. A lot of the costumes look great, and the ones that aren't supposed to look great aren't supposed to look great. Like even Peacemaker's suit, which is directly from the comics, looks kind of stupid. It still looks cool. Like the material they use is like legit material. It's not just like a T-shirt with a stupid Dove logo on it. It's got like actual texture to the shirt. And I gotta say, people die in this movie you aren't going to expect to die. This story has a lot of twists and turns I did not expect, and it was a bit complicated, but not in a bad way, like in a good way. It wasn't generic. It didn't even really feel like a superhero movie. It felt very much like a Black Ops Army type movie, and that is what James was going for, and he killed it. Now on to some of the bad. There really isn't a whole lot. I really enjoyed this. The only few things that I could maybe nitpick was some of the dialogue, some of the humor didn't land 100%. I probably would have put in maybe one or two more characters that were more recognizable from the comics, but that's just me. I would have maybe liked to have seen Bloodsport be a little more like the comics. There were some of the deaths in here that pissed me off. I really did not want them to happen, and technically should probably go in the good because that's what he was going for. So, the final verdict for this movie. For my initial reaction, I'd probably give this movie an 8.3 out of 10. Now, maybe that might sound high or low for you, but I would check out my rating system that me and my friend came up with. It's in the description, and it's on the screen right now, too. Easily one of the best DC movies, and I would say probably James Gunn's best work. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Check out our social media, and all those links are in the description. Check out our podcast, and I will see you soon. Peace out.